Hi, good evening. My name is Jay Rothman. I am the host of the show. Welcome to Real Men, Real Talk Live. Welcome back to episode 133, the last episode of 2022. Again, my name is Jay. I'm the host of the show, and I'm excited to introduce this evening my co-host, Evislove Heath, the man of the land from down under. He calls Australia home. Welcome back, Evislove.
As always, brothers and sisters, let's dive in deep tonight, man. Let's go.
We have Jeff Fasano coming in from Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome back, Jeff Fasano.
I don't agree with you, Ev. I think we should not dive in deep and just skim the surface.
Ooh, I like that, Jeff.
That'd be a first.
Go there. But it may be the last show we do then.
So we just talk about the weather and
really,
let's
just skim the surface.
All those things that people are tired of hearing about. But in any event, we have Jay Ritter, known as Josh Richard, coming in from Southern California. I want to take a moment here to welcome you gentlemen back tonight. I also want to take time to acknowledge and welcome back all of our viewers and listeners. We appreciate you. Without you, we'd just be four men sitting in our home studios having a conversation. But instead, you inspire us to show up each week. I think we're in almost year 3 now. Year 3 right now, episode 133, in the last episode for 2022. If you should hear something that you like or love, we invite you to tap your love button and light us up on your monitor. If you should have any questions, feel free to drop them down into your comments, and we'll do our best to acknowledge as many questions as possible. Tonight's episode is, who are you choosing to be in 23? And, are you ready for your New Year's resolutions or for an internal revolution? What will it take for you to evolve or resolve in a new year? Are you ready to heal your perspective today? What have you learned this year that you can bring into the new year for deeper growth and inner peace? How can we break our old cycles and patterns to become the year of you, blossoming like a lotus flower? And are you ready to let go of the old and stepping into the flow for infinite possibilities in 2023? And of course, the most important question, why do resolutions and goals typically not work for many of us? What's the difference between goals and intentions? And which is more in alignment with your soul? Is it goals or intentions? And Evislove, we're going to invite you to kick us off tonight, get us hot, and get the show going for the last of 2022.
Yeah, thank you, my brother. And a lot to talk about there that you've dropped in. But as always, here in the land down under, thank you from the bottom of my heart for this whole year, brothers and sisters, for all you brothers and sisters that come out here weekly, support us day in, day out. We're really appreciative of you, and we just want to start off by showing our gratitude for this year, which has been beautiful. And it is really a time of the year, particularly after we get past, hopefully, the festivities of the Christ Mass or the Christmas holidays, where I find just in this little portal between Christmas and what we have here in the land down under tomorrow night, New Year's Eve, you guys on the other side of the pond the day after, is a nice little portal for at least us to be able to do a little bit of self-renewal. And I feel this time of the year is a beautiful time. Like I said, it's a powerful tool to use that allows us to really reflect on what's really happened through the year that's gone by, or that is just about to move into the new year. And this allows us to open up to things like hope. It allows us to open up our mind and heart to welcome in fresh opportunities. It literally is, to me, an opportunity to wake up smell the coffee, smell the kombucha, smell the herbal tea, whatever gets you on those high vibes, to allow you to see areas within your life that, no, you don't necessarily have to fix, that you may want to attend to, that you may not have paying enough care to through the here. Now, those particular areas, particularly in my life, that I really, tend to, and I really encourage clients to as well. Obviously, within your relationships, I mean, put up your hand out there, brothers and sisters, if you had to let go of people this year. Come on, man. It happens in your career, in your wealth. Put up your hand this year, my brothers and sisters, if you've had to let go of something within your career. And that other one is obviously the big one down here in the physical dimension is obviously your health. What's happened within your health this year, and what are you able to renew before we go into the new here, which we're talking about tonight? What are you going to choose to be? So for me, on those particular things, just in those key areas, I've always working on the 5D body. It's in your spiritual self that, for me, number one, man, that's your purpose, that you have a higher meaning within your life. It's going into then your physical self. Have you tended to that physical body, my brothers and sisters? For you to move forward into the next year, come on, man, your health's got to be number one. And then for you to be able to tend to that emotional and that mental body, but on that other side, on that 5D body I talk about as well, is that psycho-spiritual body or your etheric body. So I know we're going to dive in deep tonight, my brothers and sisters, but what I really want to share with you guys are some tools why the old, outdated, expired programs like setting goals and resolutions, they've crumbled, man. And although you may have manifested some goals this year, be authentic and really put down in the box and say to yourself, did I burn myself out to get to that goal this year? Because my brothers and sisters, on the other side of this here, 2022 and 23, we're going to talk about something else where you're going to be able to manifest in another direction.
Boom.
Okay.
Boom. Love it, Ev. Thank you, man, for opening us up in such a beautiful, beautiful way. A lot to unpack there. Holy crap. I love that, we were talking just briefly about, the spiritual journey in this process. We were talking about this in the opener or before the show when we were all connecting, getting ready to go live, that, so often we get caught in this sort of belief or perpetuum that we're trying to like fix something or let something go or move something out of our life or push something away that's not serving us and then invite more in. It's like, but that's this like rejection of self. I mean, we are all of this experience from growing up as a child and every lesson that we went through. And, it's more about accepting and loving of all parts deeply and fully and honoring of all parts. And then, turning up the volume, on that knob, on that radio, cranking the tunes that we love, and inviting more of that into our lives. So it's going to be a beautiful show tonight. And the topic title was perfectly chosen, by the way. Who are you going to choose to be in 23? Not who do you want to be? Who are you striving to be? Not who are you desiring to be? Who are you choosing to be? We've talked about happiness being a choice in our lives. And yes, who we are becoming is a choice too. And we do that daily. And we talk about it all the time with self-love and things like that here on Real Man. So tonight we're going to dive in deep for 23.
What just hit me with the title of the show. Who, like right up the side of the head. Who do you choose to be in 2023? Many of us look ahead at the year or look ahead of our lives and go, what am I going to do? What am I going to do this year? What am I going to do? What am I going to accomplish this year? as opposed to who do I choose to be? Do I
Love that,
choose
Jeff.
to be me? Set my intentions, create my affirmations, look at what I would like to do in the world, but letting go of the incessant doing and choosing simply to be who you are and move deeper within that, allowing your light to shine on the world. When we choose to be ourselves or be me, then we can look at our talents, gifts, and abilities. How would I like to use my talents and gifts and abilities this year to express who I am, the being of me? What brings me the greatest amount of joy? I know my biggest challenge for a long time was to fully accept who I am, as Josh just said, accept all parts of me. Has been a big, big challenge for me in my life. In the last 4 or 5 months of the year, I've been really working pretty diligently on erasing those the old programming and conditioning to now move into 2023, honoring and valuing me and being who I am, loving myself, and just moving out into the world being me. That's who I choose. I choose to be me. It's not about what I'm going to choose to do or the goals I want to reach. I've never believed in goals, to be honest with you. And set the intentions. I'm going to be me. I'm going to bring my talents, gifts, and abilities to the world. And I'm going to open my heart space to have a greater balance of giving and receiving love in my life. Really open my heart space to receive love in my life, as opposed to, well, what am I going to do this year? What am I going to accomplish this year? Am I doing? That usually all takes care of itself in our divine soul plan on a divine path. But really opening up to be who we are, opening our heart space, bringing ourselves out into the world peacefully, with community, harmony, equality, and creating relationships that support all of that. So relationships that resonate with us, relationships with others who champion our highest good, and we do the same. That might just be a way to look at 2023.
Yeah, I love that.
I love you, Jeff.
Shannon Thompson, she says, how do I choose to treat me? That's a good one right there.
That's a really good one.
A whole episode just on that. How do we treat ourselves? Emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. And if we don't like the way we're treating ourselves, what is it that's holding us back from changing our relationship with that? What do you think, Ev? What holds us back? Or more importantly, how do we pivot in 23 so that we treat ourselves differently, perhaps, than how we showed up for ourselves in 22? What could be the top 2 or 3 steps to changing our relationship with how we treat ourselves?
It's a beautiful question, and I think that could be a question that everyone could just really meditate on for the next day or two. Because if you meditated on something like that, straight away you're taking back your power, my brothers and sisters.
There you go.
See how she talks about, how do I choose me? Not how do they choose me, or how did it choose me? How do I choose to treat me? See, we have to know thyself. We came out of the Christ consciousness last week. Hopefully you'll be able to rise within your own being. So how do you choose to treat yourself? That number one tool for me is to get to know thyself. We have to get back to ourselves, brothers and sisters. I found 22 for me, there were a lot of people trying to steal my energy. But through the power of discernment, not judgment, through discernment and my understanding of energy, I was able to let go of some of those energies that no longer served me within my potential direction going forward. So get to know thyself. when we're able to ask these questions, we become more curious in nature. And I know Jay Riddy talks about this a lot. It's such a beautiful childlike wonder that allows us to explore more about ourselves because, man, I don't know about you brothers and sisters, but over these last few years, I'm sure you've felt the changes, man. I'm sure you felt the evolution of this body we're floating around in down here. So then we can ask ourselves, simple things like those strengths and weaknesses, those talents, gifts, and capabilities that Jeff's talking about. And then for me, going into this here, and a lot of people obviously hit me up this time of the year with goals, which we'll talk about. But for me, is these intentions of creating a clear visual of a self-care plan and what that looks like for you. Jay the Rothman calls them non-negotiables. That to me is going to be so important going into the year 23.
Love that, Ev. I want to acknowledge Katrina May coming in from Canada. She said, where I got to find where she said what she said.
She said,
Ev knows what
I treated myself as a, yeah? There it is, Jay the Rothman.
No, I'm not seeing that one. Yeah, there it is. Thanks, Ev. It's always nice to have backup, man. I love
There
you.
you go.
Beautiful support.
So Katrina May says, I treated myself as a best friend most of the year, but there were too many times treating myself as just an acquaintance.
That actually hit me today. It's so funny. I was driving to the store and I was thinking how, and kind of along your lines, Jeff, and what we always talk about is this level of self-love. But what hit me today is that I can finally trust myself. And I mean that because when we are reacting to the world as our child self, we're doing all of these things out of patterns to avoid pain and all that, right? So we betray ourselves so many times. We don't tell people the truth. We try to, build ourselves up, and we're trying to, falsify confidence and all of these things. Like, we're not being truthful with ourselves and or the world. And when we come into this deep self-love, and like Jeff was talking about, these honoring of all parts, and we move into this self-love, we also start cleaning up our internal dialogue. And that's where I was betraying myself the most in life. It's like we're this castle with these big walls, right? Yeah, there's attacks on the outside, but I mean, man, self-talk on the inside was like an attack from inside the walls for yourself. And I couldn't trust myself all those years after all of those attacks and all of those betrayals. And so, yes, it was this self-love part of the time, but then I'd be super critical and an attack from inside would happen and I couldn't trust myself. And what I realized today, and kind of, what Katrina was talking about, was that I finally trust, like, I've now grown up to protect me even from the inside attacks and those inside betrayals and those little white lies that you don't think really mean a lot, but you're betraying yourself and your truth and your honesty by doing that. And I'm not claiming that that's what you're doing, Katrina. All I'm saying was, this is what hit me today. I can finally trust me. And it's a really nice place to be. There's a lot of peace and stillness that I never had up here. That's beautiful. Like, that's all I could ask for is peace up here. And then I can go out in the world and do my thing and have fun and be me.
Josh, I want to take a moment here just to acknowledge you. I don't know about Jeff and Ev, what you guys think, but clearly I have witnessed a significant pivot in you this year. since we started, this has been your year. And I'm curious if you could isolate it to one or two
Thanks,
things.
Jerry.
What do you think it is? What was the number one pivot for you that changed your relationship with yourself in 2022? And how do you carry it into 23? Because you've got some significant momentum on your side. And you've got so many people that just adore you and love you, starting with these guys right here, all of us. But I am curious, was it, what do you think was the number one driver or pivot that got you kind of in flow in 2022?
I was just talking about that last night and today, actually, trying to pinpoint what it was, because actually within the last 2 weeks, there's been a perspective shift. And I don't want to make the show all about me. We're here celebrating all of us, but I will share that the big key moments were boundaries. They were saying no to things in life. They were letting go of caretaking of others to get love in return. So I was giving from an unclean place. And that was a big incessant need of mine, because I wasn't giving self-love to myself. So there was this need to give to get. And wrapping more awareness around that and letting that go. There was so many big key moments this year. What do I want? Leaning into me and listening to me and my heart and my desires, and doing things just to, like Jeff said, be and not do. I was modeled in my life that doing meant success, and that's what I saw growing up. And you get to be proud of yourself once you reach achievements, but I think we get to be proud of ourselves for just being us. And that's the shift. And the perspective shift that has happened within the last 2 weeks that has been massive is, man, it's like you don't, it's almost like, Ev, you'll know what I'm talking about. In The Matrix, the movie The Matrix, when Neo realizes he can change the code in the Matrix and control his environment.
There you go.
That's what shifted. It's like, I'm in control. I'm not the child self reacting to the world and stuck in pattern world. It's like you come back to the adult self and you are in control of your environment, yourself. You're protecting yourself. You don't have to wear that armor anymore. And you can go out in the world and do anything. It's like now you realize the secret to the code, and you can tweak it and make it whatever you want.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of tonight and going into the new year is we can imagine. I'm sorry, I'm on a rant. I'm going to go for a few more seconds.
Go.
Imagine if Martin Luther King believed he couldn't. Believed that lie. How many times have we believed the lie that we can't? And how many times has it stopped us from doing something that we were wanting to do or trying to do? I mean, what if, Einstein was like, I don't know if I could solve relativity, and what if he gave up? All of those times we believe in ourselves that we can't. Let's do a paradigm shift tonight, all of us, and get into this I can mentality. I can do this, because there's so many things we've proven to ourselves that before we didn't think we could do, and we realize that we can. Let's open up possibility. Like Ev said earlier, let's get curious. What if we can? Let's just play in life. Let's go out there and be ourselves and have fun with this positive I can attitude. And that perspective shift will invite in so much opportunity.
Love that. Jeff, I want to invite you to piggyback off of Jay Ritty, who's really hot tonight. He is just pumping it out, man.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what you ate today, because I want to. Jeff, what are you making of all this, and how does this tie into where you're at as you begin to dip your toes coming into 2023? Which Jeff Pisano is going to show up in 23?
Oh, not the Jeff Fasano that was here at the beginning of September. That's for sure. It's the guy who has emerged from so much since the middle of September up until even right now. I'm just a different person, being who I am, and navigating so much of life in a different and new way that I've never done before. I've never in my life understood what being compassionate to myself was, accepting myself, mistakes, all the, moving through all of that, and then understanding it more, and then understanding the wounding more, and starting to realize that there are things in my life that are old. One of the tools I'm using now is when something comes up within me, all of a sudden, I like a feeling of not good enough. I'm like, wait a second. I know that feeling very well. I know that feeling inside and out. I don't need to go into that deeply anymore. What am I going to do differently? What's the new thing? And that's using that to pivot from diving into thinking that I need to navigate not good enough one more time. I know it. What is new for me? So that's a tool that I'm using. Wow, this is old. This old behavior, and really being cognizant of that. And I mean, there's a lot that is going to be going on for me in my life come 2023. I got a book coming out in April, and life is going to shift and change from that. It's already shifting and changing on so many levels, but that's all the outside stuff. The thing about it is, when I look at things, I hit the ground running next week with a whole bunch of things going on, traveling to different places throughout January and February. But the thing about it is, that's all wonderful. That's outside of myself. I'm going to go back to what I originally said. Who am I going to be? Who am I going to choose to be within all of that? It's going to be a new person, or remembering myself that is not wounded, and starting to navigate all of this as an adult to now have a totally new experience of life, and experiencing all of what's going to be transpiring in the first couple of months of the year in a different way. I'm coming at it from a fresh perspective, a new perspective of who I am, and pivoting and changing from, when things come up, if I make a mistake, if something happens, I know the old way. So I've raised my awareness and consciousness to that, where now it's going to be something new. I'm going to learn that. I'm going to have compassion for myself. But it's like, okay, I'm going to now, instead of going into, I'm using the feeling of not good enough, because that's a big one for me. As a matter of fact, what Josh just said, to entertain something new in the I can't do this, there is something underneath that I can't. And that for me was that feeling or emotion of not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And now when that appears and that surfaces, because it always will, I'm going to now move from, instead of going into that, I'm going to choose to nurture that wounded child first. And then say, let's do something new. Let's move forward. We know that so well. Let's choose a new behavior. Let's choose something different to move into I can, I will. But more importantly, because folks, doorways are going to open and opportunities are going to come to you. And what Josh just said, what popped into my head is, well, this opportunity came about, whether it's an opportunity for a new relationship or something else. Opportunities and doorways are going to open for us as we walk our pathway in life. Are we going to ask ourselves the questions? Well, if I walk through that doorway and maybe seize that opportunity, many have the question, oh my God, what will happen if I make that choice? What will happen if I go into that relationship? What will happen if I entertain that? What will happen? Well, thus needing to control it as opposed to move into it as an adult and allow ourselves to have the experiences of life. And that's what I'm choosing.
Beautiful. Love that. Jeff Fasano.
Amen. Amen.
Stay back in the home state of NYU, where you come from, New York. I do want to acknowledge Abigail Engel, because I think this is a really, really critical piece for all of us to embrace. She says, I am planning to focus on consciously being in the present instead of always reflecting on the past and or dreaming the future. This has been on my heart for a few months. I'm loving it so far. And, you know, for me, this is so key, because so many of us were either living in the past, living in when we talk about the past, sometimes we think about good memories, but a lot of times we're focused, or we're deeply, heavily into the wounds, the pain, the sadness, the feelings of rejection, the feelings of disappointment, and how we're either treated by others or how we've treated ourselves. And then if we're not obsessively in the past, we're projecting out the future. And when we project out the future, we miss the most important gift, which is the gift of the presence. And so, you know, one of the ways, you know, how can we do that is, it's kind of like when you go fishing and you cast that line out, and if you don't have that lock and that reel, you're going to find out pretty quick, when you've let 200 yards of line trolling out in the ocean waters, how difficult it's going to be to pull it back in. So it's really, it's for us to manage the reel and know when to lock it down. Say, not here, not now, not today. I'm not going back to the past, and I don't need to jump into the future. And how we do that is by learning how to control our thoughts, learning how to be the master of our own mind, instead of allowing our mind to take us out to the ocean, out to sea. What is it that we're seeking to see? What we're seeking is that's the egoic's way of wanting to protect us from having a misstep, as Evis talked about in a pre-show warm-up today on Facebook Live. But at the end of the day, what we're really talking about tonight, gentlemen, is how do we learn how to manage our mindset, rather than allowing our mind to hijack us, allowing our mind to take us into places that we don't need to go anymore. So how do we do that, Ed?
I think one of the biggest keys, and thanks for sharing that, sister, because it is important about where we do find ourselves, and to really understand why we do go future tripping, and you know, we sit and dwell in the past. We've got to understand that the brain and the body is hardwired from the past. So until we start creating new connections, wires, or being able to manifest what it is you desire in the present, I want you to listen to that word as well. In the present, the present, then you will always be future tripping. So we do have to create and renew possibly the hardware that you've only been used to. And this is why we go back to the past, because that's what the ego mind wants to do. It wants to keep you safe. It wants to keep you fitting in this world. But what we're talking about here, and like we knew in our old ways, man, and many old traditional cultures, this time is cyclical. That's why I have a shirt on tonight. The future is here now. But who is that being sent from? It's you. You pre-sent it. Digest that for a second, my brothers and sisters. So when you can see and feel what your future self would feel like, with beautiful abundance around them, what would it feel like with beautiful connections and networks around them that make them feel at ease and peace? when we can start hardwiring some of these connections from that future self, then we don't need to trip and go future tripping, because the future is always just here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just getting to understand what we're currently living in, my brothers and sisters, and getting really to know thyself from that level that I'm talking about.
Wow.
Mm.
Just to follow up,
Beautiful, Ev.
yeah, just to follow up, she said, I finally see that not everything needs to be reconciled. Learning to truly let go is powerful.
Mm-hmm.
When we're trying to reconcile old memories, even if you were to close your eyes in that moment, catch yourself and ask yourself, how old are you feeling? What age are we that we're trying to reconcile? How old are we feeling as we're in those repeating, reoccurring thoughts that aren't going to serve us?
Mm-hmm.
So
And that's exactly
Josh?
what Jeff was talking about too, is catching that old pattern and letting it go.
Mm.
There you
And
go.
saying, you know, I know you. I know you well. And I also know the feelings that this thought pattern generates.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want it anymore.
Mm-mm.
We become that protector of self, that protector of our peace inside those walls. There's no internal attacks anymore when we get to say, sorry, man, you've been around for a long time, but you're not welcome here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And
We were talking about it, Josh, in our warm up in the pre-show before we went live. I asked the question, how many weeks after we set a New Year's resolution or the old goals do we abandon? Do we abandon all of them? And I think we had a consensus that it's less than a month. Data suggests that within 4 weeks or less, we've already given in. We've already thrown in the towel on whatever new goals or resolutions we set for the new year. Why do you think that is? What is it that we're truly abandoning?
Ourselves. It's about, if we say this is, well, once again, this is, you set goals for the new year or resolution. I mean, resolutions. What is that resolution? That I'm going to lose 25 pounds, 30 pounds. I'm not going to, to me, a resolution is more of what I'm not going to do. If you really look at New Year's resolutions, it's more of what I'm not going to do anymore, as opposed to setting intentions as to what I look to achieve in the world by being who I am, bringing my talents, gifts in the world, as opposed to I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to, we're talking about 3D stuff here. What are my New Year's resolutions? I'm going to learn how to bake apple pie this year. It's really more, and what we're doing here on this show is really about what are you going to do with your inner self this year?
There you go.
It's like
who am I going to be?
Yeah, looking outside of ourselves. What we've been doing on 132 shows, now 133, going to be 134 and 5 and all that good stuff, is the inner work, the inner pathway, the inner challenges that we have. If we move past through that and be able to befriend our wounded inner children and nurture them, bring them along with us into the new, man, the things that we can accomplish and create for ourselves in life in the 3D will happen.
One of the things that's just coming forward for me right now is how many of us are living in a place of isolation, and I mean that in the most loving way. It doesn't mean that necessarily that when I say isolation, many of us go right to, is that a state of depression? And it doesn't necessarily mean that. I'm just talking about how often do we put in an effort to connect with other people, connect with people strangers that we just may meet in line at the grocery store. It may be the checkout woman. I can't tell you how many times when I'm at the grocery store, I'll ask the woman who's checking me out if I'm not. And I say checking me out, I'm not saying physically checking me out. That is, but in that moment, I'll ask them, "How are you doing today?" And I can't tell you how many times this year, a number of cashiers said to me, "Thank you for asking me. Nobody ever asked me that question in line."
You know, what pops up for me right now, if our heart is shut down, if we have armor around our heart space, if we're walking around with that veil around our heart space, it doesn't matter if we're in a room or out there socializing every single night. If our heart is shut down, if we have this armor around ourselves, we're living in isolation. It doesn't matter if you're in a room with 50, 500 people walking around to every party, every New Year's Eve party you're going to go to. But if our heart is shut down and not open, you're going to be living in an isolation no matter what, even if you're in relationship with someone. That's what I was saying at the beginning. Open up our hearts to do what Jay is saying, to open up our hearts and become available to experiences in life.
There's a difference between connecting and attachments. Ev, want to take a stab at that? Between connecting with others and attaching to others.
Well, the attachment, can really fall on the wounding of yourself. You become codependent in a behavior. You can become codependent in a relationship with someone. You become codependent in your attachments to materials,
outcomes,
all of it. So it's been able to really let go of that control of those outcomes that we have always grown up that we think we have control of. So it's really important going into this new year as well. When we can build connections, well, now we're building connections based on, for me, it's your vibration, it's your frequency, it's your resonance.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go.
It all comes down to that.
Yep.
It's all about resonance. It's all about energy.
Mary Kelly says, not to chase the goal or get to the destination, but enjoy the journey of learning a new way to live.
Boom.
And that was really hard for me for a lot of years, for sure. Everybody always said it's about the journey. It's about the journey, not the destination. And I was like, yeah, I don't understand that. I wanted to, but I didn't.
Hey, Josh, it's the thing about people say, okay, so when I get there,
yes,
yeah,
then I'm going to what? Get where? And who are you going to be when you get wherever there is?
Yeah.
When I get there, then I can do this.
I called it one day disease. Because it was like one day when I get this, one day when I achieve that, one day when this happens, then I'll be happy. Then I'll be when I get there, then I'll be ready. But you already are there. Wherever there may be, I'm guilty of doing that, of course, Totally. I did that for almost 40 years.
Really, when I get there.
And that's fallen into that trap of the cause and effect. We all grew up, we'd only be happy if we get there, like you're saying, or if we get this thing.
Yes.
So as we become masters of manifestation and start co-creating our reality, then, my brothers and sisters, really that's where we want to try and get to eventually. But we start to cause the effect. Now, there's a subtle difference there because your cause and effect old programming, like we're talking about, you only become happy with these joyful, happier feelings if you reach that thing, get that thing, or pursuing that thing.
Yeah.
And Ev, you talk so beautifully about visualization all the time too. And that's the having, right? The brain doesn't know the difference between in a meditation, a visualization, or reality. It releases the same happy chemicals in your body. And so the visualization is just as powerful as actually doing it or being there. And then you are there. You have it already. And you're in this having energy instead of this striving energy.
And
Tell
that's
us a little bit more about, tell us a little bit more about that. How do you create a model for yourself for visualization? What does that look like? Is it something that you're literally drawing out on a canvas, or can it just be done in the mind?
I had one for this show 3 years ago. And when I close my eyes, I still see it.
there's the key. Close your eyes. Don't overcomplicate this, brothers and sisters. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. It's called, for me, at the top of this pyramid that we're talking about here, vision should always be at the top. So if you aren't having clarity, confidence within your vision, you may have to check the lenses because your perspective may be a little bit skewed. So that vision then creates and helps us with our purpose down here, brothers and sisters. And then underneath that, we start forming this identity within our lives. And then hopefully from there, we can start connecting with those talents, gifts, and capabilities that we're talking about. And for us to start integrating this new software, hardware, whatever you want to call it, where we are causing that effect, we're going to have to behave differently, man. We have to have differently to what we've always known. Because like I said, otherwise your body and your brain will keep taking you year after year, trying to create a goal or resolution. But then you're going to have to check the very last thing for me, and that is the environment we're putting ourselves in. Environment is key, brothers and sisters, to your vision.
Yeah.
Yep.
What role does gratitude play?
I was just going to say too, and it's not just, vision is not just saying, I want more money because that'll solve all my problems, or I want more this, or I want more that. No, it's like what Jeff was saying. How can I take my abilities to the world in a unique way? What gifts do I have to give the world? The rest will sort itself out. It's coming at vision from a new angle and a new perspective, being that power station, being that generator of good energy out in the world. Opportunities will flock to you if you go out in the world powerful as yourself and being truthful and honest to who you are and moving through life from that space rather than lack, desire, want, need, all that low vibe energy. That the world's full of that. There's plenty of that out there.
And once again, we just come back to us. Really,
right?
Everything that we're saying tonight, it just comes right. It's not about out there. Everything that we've said tonight individually is all about coming back to here.
Isn't it funny?
Coming right back to ourselves.
It took me 40 years to walk all the way around the block and come back to me.
Yeah. It's just
that's time,
that's why the title of the show is great. Who do you choose to be in 2023? We didn't ask the question. So what do you want to accomplish in 2023? What do you want to do in 2023? Who do you choose to be in 2023?
Yeah, I want to share with you, gentlemen. For me, one of the quick shortcuts to connecting with myself on a daily basis is just taking a moment each day and tap into a very powerful word, gratitude. we spend more time and thoughts about what we haven't achieved, what we don't have, what we're lacking, whether it be relationship, whether it be money, whether it be our health, whether it be the new car, whether it be anything outside of what we don't have already experienced. And I wasn't taught about gratitude in my home. And I didn't embrace it in my adulthood because I didn't know what I didn't know. And it wasn't until I was literally hours from death and I gave myself permission to die so that I could rebirth and begin a journey of coming home, to self-discovery, to understand not who I had become, but who I was at my core. And that's really what this is all about. Who are we? And if you're at the beginning of the journey and you just have the courage now to ask yourself the question, not who I have become, we know who that person is. And if we're asking the question, most likely we don't like how we're feeling about ourselves. But when we're able to have the courage to step in on this journey of coming home, to return to love, self-discovery, start to tap in one day at a time, each day that you're gifted a new breath, to ask yourself, what am I grateful for today? What do I have? And it doesn't have to be these big things that we need to rent a billboard on the side of the 405 freeway in downtown LA. No, that's not what I'm talking about. It's the little things, the big things. Look, with gratitude, size doesn't matter. What matters is that you just have awareness. Because as soon as you are able to hone in on the little things that bring you joy, that bring you comfort, that bring you feelings of inner peace, love, size doesn't matter anymore. Gratitude, I found early on in my healing journey, was a power tool. And I still embrace it each day. So many days I'll say to my beautiful angel Mary, I'll say, sometimes I just want to pinch myself. Not to hurt myself, but to wake up. Like, is this real? Is this really the life that we're living? Or is this just a dream? But here's the truth. We are living in a dream. It's either a nightmare or it's real. It's true. And we always have a choice. We always have a choice to live in lack or to live in abundance. And the more we tap into consciousness around gratitude, the little things in life that bring us comfort and inner peace, it's no longer a nightmare. We create our own nightmares through the thoughts that we allow to come through and how we mismanage our own thoughts. So we always have a choice. We can either live in our head or we live in our heart. And I could tell you, gentlemen, that today I choose to live in my heart. And when I catch myself in my head, I put an end to it. I stop it. And if I have to reach for a tool to do that, I do. If I'm not able to just kind of take myself out of that loop. Thank you, that Josh, Richard.
Beautiful, Jay. Beautiful. So many. That's where I started too, was gratitude. It's the simplest tool we can use. And for anybody who isn't a regular practice, because I'm with you now, Jay, too, where I just use that in my daily language all the time now. I'm grateful for, I find a penny on the sidewalk and I pick it up and I thank the universe for throwing me free money. You know, that nothing's too small. And I love that, Jay. It was beautiful. But for those of you who aren't in that practice, because the mind is a muscle, right? We got to work it out too. And so a gratitude list is a beautiful, amazing gift to yourself. I mean, I lost it all at one point in my life and was living the smallest I had lived since college in my late 30s. And had $500,000 in debt to investors. My life looked the worst when I was starting gratitude practice. And I was the happiest I had been in a decade at that point, with the least I'd ever had really since college. So gratitude is super powerful.
So I want to invite all of us to put a pretty bow in the show and share closing thoughts around gratitude. As one of us lean into the new year, which is just a couple of 24 hours away from tonight, what are you grateful for in this moment as we embrace the new year, new opportunities, new excitement? Jeff, kick us off, please.
Wow. I'm grateful for my courage in the since the middle of September, to take the inner journey that I took, where so much old wounding and trauma came up in those months. The courage that it took me to do that and go within, face it, feel the feelings, allow it. But from that came the gratitude that I have for the people in my life who were there in those moments, who were championing my highest good, who just said, I'm here if you need me. And I'm really, really grateful for so many wonderful people in my life who I know who actually care about me. And that's where I start with gratitude tonight. Those in my life who are there, who have my back.
Beautiful. Jay Ritty, you're up.
Celebrating you too, Jeff. I was smiling so big when you were talking earlier about everything that's hit you this year. It's been a huge year for you. Like I'm just like right there with you, cheering you on too. It's really fun. I'm grateful for having you guys to grow with, to share these stories with, to share space and time, and to for the show. You know, we started the show to give, and I feel like I've received so much from you guys and your wisdoms and your talents and your gifts and your heart. I feel so strongly the sacred space that we've created where it's safe to explore this life together, and with guys, no less. I mean, I've never had an opportunity like this, and it's been incredible. So thank each of you guys. I love you as men, as humans, and as souls. And I'm grateful for the space that we share every week. I look forward to it. It's my favorite part of the week. And we get to share with all of you, the world.
Right.
Welcome to our hangout, where we discuss all things life.
Thank you, Jay Ritty, for sharing that tonight. Ev, you're up, man. What do you got?
Yeah, man. It is just such a beautiful attitude to go into the new year 2023 with gratitude, because no matter what stresses, worries, doubts, anything we're overwhelmed by, what we bring into the new year can always be, I don't like to use the word, but I'll use it, combated by the power of gratitude. it really for me sits on the same frequency as love. And for that, when you are actually emanating in the power and accessing love through heart space, you're grateful for everything, man. I was grateful for those people that were trying to stab me in the back this year. I was grateful for the so-called mistakes that I see as missteps now this year. I'm also grateful for this show. I'm grateful for the family I'm here. I'm grateful for the small things within my life. I'm also grateful for many of the abundance that I've received this year. I'm grateful for my experiences. I'm grateful for my choices. So I'm grateful for everything. But my brothers and sisters, as we go into the new year, 2023, when we ask ourselves, who do I choose to be in 23? The most grateful thing that I am for going into 23, my brothers and sisters, is me. Choose me in 23.
I get to be me.
Simple, not easy.
Beautiful thing to be able to say.
Well, as we just hit the 101 in this week's last episode of 2022, I want to take a moment here just to acknowledge, first and foremost, our viewers. Thank you for showing up each week, supporting us, coming back to hear more, coming back to share parts of your journey that continues to unfold each week for you. I also want to acknowledge the three of you, men. No doubt when I had this vision of basically relaunching interview podcast to a talk show where I've got three other men with me each week, I didn't really know how it was gonna go, but I trusted. I trusted the universe. I trusted divine source. That the message that I got didn't come from my mind, it came from my soul, came from within. And it's been an absolutely beautiful ride. Each one of you has brought me lessons, has brought me gifts, has brought me another level of love that I didn't know could exist between myself and other men. And it has given me the ability to expand, given me the ability to lean into something that I always lacked in my life. And now it's one word: trust. I didn't know how to trust other people because I didn't trust myself. And through this journey of having the courage to step in, to discover who I truly am, I began to heal my wounds around trust and lack of. And that, for me, is most definitely the greatest gift that was reaffirmed in 2022, is that when I get out of the way and I just trust and I just keep showing up and I keep just doing one day at a time, making healthy choices for myself, and then being available to connect with others, life just keeps getting better. And so with that, I love you guys.
Love you too, Jay.
Thank you for showing up right on time. And with that, happy. Ev, close us out, will you?
As always, from here, the brothers on a Real Men Real Talk Live. Till next year, we've been with Real Men, Real Talk Live.
Oh, by the way,
Hey,
Happy New Year. I love you
we're-
guys.